good morning to one and all present here. Myself, Dr. M. Janakirani, Professor from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. Welcome you all for the Viva host of the research scholar, Mrs. Janita Jabanese. Now I request our HOD, Mrs. Jayalakshmi ma'am, to give the welcome address. Jayalakshmi ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning to one and all present here. A warm welcome to each one of you for the public Viva Voce examination of our research scholar, Mrs. Janita Jabanese. She has submitted her thesis titled Energy Efficient and Fault Tolerant Thermal Energy Harvesting System with Minimal Leakage Power for Implantable Biomedical Devices. She has undergone her research under the guidance of Dr. M. Janakirani. I take this opportunity to welcome our Indian examiner, Professor Dr. J.P. Anand from Sri Krishna College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore, for the conduct of public Viva Voce examination in connection with the thesis for the PhD degree. Welcome, sir. I also welcome our university faculty, Dr. M. Anand, for the Viva Voce examination. Once again, I extend my warm welcome to each one of you. With this, I call Mrs. Janita to present her research work to the audience. Janita?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to everyone. And I take this opportunity to welcome everyone for my PhD Viva Voce examination. I'm Janita Jabanese J, and I'm here to present my PhD work on the topic Energy Efficient and Fault Tolerant Thermal Energy Harvesting System with Minimal Leakage Power for Implantable Biomedical Devices. I carried out my work under the supervision of Dr. M. Janakirani ma'am, Professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. So the outline of my presentation will be introduction, wherein I'm just going to brief about implantable biomedical devices and energy harvesting system, followed by literature review, objectives, existing method, proposed method, along with simulation results, conclusion, references, and publications. So implantable biomedical devices are used to support a damaged biological structure or to enhance the performance of biological structure. For example, pacemaker. So we know the main function of the heart is to pump the blood. So in order to achieve this function, in the heart, we have what is called as SA node. So the main function of this SA node is to generate the signal required for maintaining the rhythmic action of the heart. Sometimes this SA node fails to generate the required signal. In such case, we just assist the function of SA node with the implantable biomedical device known as the pacemaker. It's just a signal generator. So the major disadvantage of these implantable biomedical devices are the lifetime of the battery. So the lithium batteries which are used here are having limited lifespan. So it will be having the lifespan about 5 to 7 years. So this will be limiting the lifespan of the implantable biomedical device. And whenever we have to replace the battery in IMDs, the person has to undergo a minor surgery. Only then the battery can be replaced. And the next disadvantage is that more than 60% volume of this implantable biomedical devices are occupied by the batteries. So now VLSI in IMDs. So can be useful for replacing the batteries with the help of energy harvesting system from human body temperature when the device is still in use. And our idea is to create a low power, low voltage circuit for replacing the batteries in the implantable biomedical devices. Energy harvesting system. So we have various sources of energy available. So the energy can be either in body energy, which is available inside our body. It will be in the form of heat energy or kinetic energy, which will be generated because of the movement of our body. or it can be out of body like solar energy, water energy, and wind energy, and so on. So these energy source cannot be directly used to replace the battery in IMDs. Initially, these source will be converted into electrical energy with the help of a transducer. But the output of the transducer will be time varying because the source will be varying with respect to time. So, and also the next point is the output of the transducer will be having a very low voltage and low power levels. So we are supposed to boost up this output, and also we are supposed to convert this into a stable output. For that purpose, we are going to use power conditioning circuit, which will be giving the required regulated output voltage, and it will be delivering in the form that is required by the implantable biomedical devices. So our concentration is mainly on the power conditioning circuit. So we are dealing with thermal energy harvesting system. So the source of energy for thermal energy harvesting is the temperature gradient between the inner body and the outer surface. So there'll always be a temperature difference between the inner body as well as the surface of the skin. So that we are considering for thermal energy harvesting. And the transducer, what is used here is thermoelectric generator. So this thermoelectric generator will be converting the heat energy into electrical energy. And whenever we aim in the design of energy harvesting system, the challenges will be with respect to size. So the size should be very, very small, and the power consumption should be very low. Then the durability of the harvesting system should be high, and it should have high power conversion efficiency, and should be capable of covering large range of input voltage, and it should also be biocompatible. So we went for literature review. We referred various papers on energy harvesting system. So we have various energy harvesting techniques like mechanical energy harvesting, RF energy harvesting, and so on. Since we are concentrating on implantable biomedical devices, if we go for mechanical energy harvesting, that will be having the vibrations that is not that is applicable for implantable biomedical devices. So we concentrated on thermal energy harvesting. So after having a proper literature review, we identified the following problems. So in the thermal energy harvesting system, what is existing, it is not fault tolerant. And the next point is the power consumption is also very, very high. And the existing thermal energy harvesting system suffers from large leakage current as well as large inrush current. So based on these problems, we defined our objective. So the main objective of our work is to enhance the power generated by the thermal electric generators to be used by implantable biomedical devices and to replace the battery of the IMDs with device for extracting thermal energy. We were able to achieve our main objective with the help of three objectives. So the first objective is to reduce the device's power consumption and leakage power during thermal energy harvesting. And this we accomplished in our module 1. And the second objective is to have a fault-tolerant thermal energy harvesting system, which we accomplished in our module 2. And the third objective of our work is to reduce the inrush current in the thermal energy harvesting system. And this we succeeded in our module 3. So this shows the research workflow of our work. In phase 1, we concentrated in reducing the device's leakage power and power consumption, and we designed a low leakage FinFET based ring oscillator with adaptive body biasing. and the output of this oscillator was used as the switching frequency in our second phase. So in the second phase, we focused on the fault tolerant circuit, and only in the second phase we are just going to boost the voltage from thermoelectric generator to the required level by the IMDs. So here we concentrated on fault tolerant circuit, and we designed a fault tolerant DC to DC boost converter with minimal leakage power. And in the third phase, we decided to use the concept of same fault tolerant network to reduce the inrush current, and we designed the pre-startup circuit with the concept of fault tolerant network. And in the fourth phase, we just included all this and designed a fault tolerant thermal energy harvesting system with minimal leakage power for implantable biomedical devices. So existing system for thermal energy harvesting. So this is the existing system for thermal energy harvesting. So we know very well the input to this is from thermoelectric generator, and that will be of the order of 40 to 50 millivolts, and the output what we require is 2 to 3 volts. So all the implantable biomedical devices will be requiring voltage ranging from 2 to 3 volts. And this is the existing system wherein the input is given to the pre-startup circuit. And in the existing system, the pre-startup circuit is charge pump, wherein you'll be having different stages of capacitors as charge pump. So charge pump will be boosting the input voltage. So here it can act as a voltage doubler, or it can act as a voltage tripler. So in the existing system, they merely use 100 stages of charge pumps to boost the input voltage. And that was driven by, the charge pump was driven by a low voltage, low power oscillator. So the main function of this pre-startup circuit is to convert this voltage into an intermittent voltage that is sufficient enough to drive the remaining part of the circuit. So the output of this charge pump, whenever it exceeds the predetermined value of this capacitor, it will be setting the comparator 1, and that in turn enables startup boost converter. Even this is just going to act as a switching circuit, and this startup boost converter will be providing the necessary clock pulses for the steady state boost converter. See, boost converters are nothing but step up converter. It is just going to step up the input voltage, and these boost converters will also give a steady state output required by the IMDs. So the steady state boost converter will be initiated, and once it gives the required output, this comparator 2 will be set, and it is just going to put off all the remaining circuit in cutoff state. Only the steady state boost converter will be activated, and that will be giving us the required voltage. And here the major disadvantage is it is having high leakage power and also high power consumption. So we concentrated on reducing that. So we concentrated in reworking on this low voltage, low power oscillator. That was our module 1. The next thing, as I told you, the steady state boost converter is the one which is going to boost up or step up the input voltage to the required level. And this is not fault tolerant. If fault occurs in this, we will not be able to get the required output. The entire system will be collapsed. So we concentrated on steady state boost converter to make it as fault tolerant, and that's our module 2. And finally, the charge pump was occupying a large area, and we concentrated in reducing the inrush current which is available in the charge pump, and that was our module 3. So module 1 is low leakage FinFET ring oscillator for biomedical energy harvesting applications. So the ring oscillators are nothing but we'll be having odd number of inverters. So once I say inverters, it will be having PMOS as well as NMOS. So sorry, we have odd number of inverters with a positive feedback. That is, the output of the last stage is given as the input to the first stage. So automatically the oscillations will be produced. So the existing ring oscillator is CMOS based and it is implemented using 180 nanometer technology and it is having 9 different stages. In the existing system, they've reduced the body, they've applied the body biasing and the threshold voltage is greatly reduced. And this will be improving the switching speed of the inverter. These are the advantages. So they have applied the body biasing technology and the threshold voltage of NMOS and PMOS is also reduced. Because of that, the switching speed of the inverter is increased. But the major disadvantage is it had a huge penalty on leakage power and it requires the power supply of 0.25 volts. Actually speaking, the output of thermoelectric generator is only in the range of millivolts. So we decided to change the technology with the advanced technology, that is the FinFET. So FinFET is a 3-dimensional device with a fin-like structure and it is having various advantages. So FinFET is available in very smaller size and we have chosen 20 nm FinFET. And the FinFET will be having low power consumption. It is actually a low voltage, low power device and it will be faster and the leakage current will also be reduced. So these are the advantages of FinFET. So when we finalized for FinFET, we had greater challenge also. So we had dozens of new and complicated design rules. So we went for Cadence Virtuoso analog design environment for our PhD work. And this is the proposed ring oscillator. So our aim is to reduce the leakage current as well as the power consumption. See, this forms the PFET as well as NFET inverter and we chose 5 stages of inverter to achieve the desired frequency. And here, in order to reduce the leakage current, we just applied a negative bias voltage for the NFET transistor and this voltage was applied through a PFET transistor which forms the adaptive body biasing circuit. And this is such that this PFET will be in the on condition only when the gate is low. Otherwise, it will automatically go to the off condition. That is how adaptively it is going to apply the body biasing condition. Since we have applied a negative bias for NFET, the threshold voltage will be greatly increased in our ring oscillator. And since the threshold voltage is greatly increased, that decreases the threshold leakage power consumption because leakage power consumption is inversely proportional to the threshold voltage. And this is the output of our proposed ring oscillator. So since we are using an odd number of inverters, we'll be having a 50% duty cycle at the output. And the frequency is such that it is equal to 1 divided by 2n into Td, where n is the number of stages used and Td is the propagation delay. And we varied the temperature from minus 25 degrees C to plus 125 degrees C and observed that the frequency of oscillation also increased with the increase in the temperature. And at the temperature of 27 degrees C, that is the room temperature, we got the frequency of 1 kilohertz. So we had a linear variation of frequency with respect to the increase in the temperature. Similarly, we also observed the dynamic power with increase in temperature as well as the leakage power with increase in temperature. So all were linearly varying with the increase in the temperature. And by applying the 20 nm FinFET adaptive body biasing technique, we were able to achieve a greater reduction in the dynamic power consumption. So in the existing system, the power consumption is in the range of microwatts, whereas in the proposed system, the power consumption is greatly reduced to nanowatts. And we also had a greater reduction in the leakage power. So leakage power was of the order of picowatts. So this is our first module, and we achieved, that is the power consumption, reduction in power consumption as well as the reduction in the leakage power. Our second module is energy efficient and fault tolerant DC to DC boost converter with minimal leakage power for implantable biomedical devices. And this is the existing DC to DC converter. So we have various DC to DC converter, and this is the one because it is going, we have chosen because it is going to give a stable output. So the input will be from TEG and the inductor will be charged, and we have two transistors, M1 and M2. M1 is the power transistor used for stepping up the input voltage. And M2 is just going to act as the pass transistor. So M1 will be controlled by the control circuit. So we are using only one power transistor, that is NMOS power transistor, and it is the heart of this device. So wherever this NMOS power transistor fails, the entire system will fail since it is not fault tolerant. And the second disadvantage in the existing method is the inrush current is of the order of 292.5 microamps, and it had a higher power consumption, and the leakage current was also high, and it was implemented using 180 nanometer CMOS technology. So proposed fault tolerant DC to DC converter. See, the main drawback of the existing DC to DC boost converter is it is not fault tolerant because M1 is going to play a major role. So if this M1 fails, the entire system will be collapsing. So what we decided was to replace this M1 with T1, T2, T3, T4 and T5. So we are just replacing a single transistor with 5 parallel transistors. And all these 5 transistors will not be switched at the same time, but they'll be switched one by one with a delay in a sequential manner. Okay, so we are just going to replace the single transistor with 5 parallel transistors, and we're not going to switch on all the transistors simultaneously at the same time. Instead, each and every one, first initially T1 will be switched on with a delay of 50 nanoseconds. That is what we have applied in our system. The T2 will be switched on and so on. So we'll see what is the advantage of doing so. Initially, the load was shared by a single transistor. In our case, the load will be equally shared by all 5 transistors. So equally, it will be sharing. Each and every transistor will be getting 20% of the load. So what happens is, even if one transistor fails, the remaining 4 transistors will be sharing the load equally, and it will be capable of producing the required output. So that is the advantage of introducing fault tolerant network. So now in the control network or control circuit, the output has to be stable. That will be taken care. So whenever the output exceeds the required level, so the required level is 2.5 volts. That is what we fixed for our work. And whenever the output exceeds the required level of 2.5 volts, what happens is we have a counter driven by the low leakage oscillator, what we designed in our module 1. So that counter will be influencing this pulse width modulated circuit, and it is just going to decrease the width of the pulse so that the output will be reduced. So because V out is equal to V in divided by 1 minus duty cycle. Whereas if the output is less than the required value, what happens is the pulse width of this psi1 will be increased so that the output will also be increased. So that is how our circuit is capable of producing a stable output at the for the IMDs. And design procedure what we employed in our fault tolerant DC to DC converter. So the required output what we have fixed is 2.5 volts, and based on the design we have the load resistance as 50 kilo ohms, and the total load current is V out divided by RL, that is 50 microamps. So here we have used 5 different stages. Each and every stage will be taking a load of 10 microamps. See, I told you they are going to share the load equally. So each and every transistor will be taking a load of 10 microamps. So we know that trans conductance is given by mu n COX W by L into ID under the square root. So this W by L ratio plays a major role in the design in VLSI, that is the width by the length. So GM is the transconductance, mobility of electrons is mu n, COX is the capacitance of oxide layer, W is the width, L is the length, and ID is the drain current. So we also know GM is equal to ID divided by V out. So we get the value of GM. Simplifying the equation, we have got the value of W by L as 10.08. Since we are using 20 nm FinFET technology from the library, the value of L is fixed as 20 nm. So the value of W will be equal to 201.6 nm. And this is the value for 10 microamperes of current in one branch. And while designing, we carried out the design with 30% excess tolerance. So from this, we just carried out the design with 30% excess tolerance. And we know A will be equal to W into L. This is the schematic of fault tolerant DC to DC converter, what we implemented using Cadence. And this is the fault tolerant network. The fault tolerant network is driven by PWM, and the pass transistor is driven by the side 2. See, both will be having non-overlapping pulses. And this is the schematic of fault tolerant DC to DC converter. So instead of a single transistor, we have 5 transistors with a delay. This is the switching pulse what we used in order to switch the fault tolerant transistor. So with a delay of 5 nanoseconds. And these are the parameters. So input voltage is 90 millivolts, source resistance 1.5 ohms. The output what we designed is for 2.5 volts. The load resistance is 50 kilo ohms. Inductor value what we have used is 400 microhenry, and capacitor is 400 nanofarad. And this is the output waveform of our proposed fault tolerant DC to DC converter. So we varied the input from 90 millivolts to 140 millivolts, and we observed that, see, we told you that our system will be giving you a stable output. So for all the variations, the output was only 2.5 volts. We also varied the input voltage from 90 millivolts to 140 millivolts, and observed that the power consumption also varied. And we had a maximum power consumption of 5.17 microwatts when the input is 140 millivolts. And we just compared that with the existing system, and we achieved a greater improvement factor. And this is the plot of power consumption for existing and the proposed system. Fault tolerant analysis. See, we are telling that we are introducing 5 transistors in place of 1 transistor to avoid the fault. So in order to verify that, what we did was we just introduced fault in 1 transistor. So we had 5 parallel transistors to share the load equally. So what we did was we introduced a fault in 1 transistor. So we were left with only 4 transistors. So that time the load was equally shared by these 4 transistors, and we were able to achieve the same output what we achieved with the help of 5 transistors. And we noted down the value, and this table gives that. See, the parameter we observed was load current. See, the total load current is 50 microamps, and inrush current what we obtained was 165.25 microamps for both the conditions, that is stages of 5 transistor as well as with 1 fault transistor. And the leakage current was 90.79 picoamperes. But if we observe the value across each and every individual transistor, see, whenever we had 5 stages, the load was shared between 5 stages. Each and every stage was taking 20% of the total load. So the load current was 10 microamperes, whereas in the case of 4 transistor, the load is equally shared between 4 transistors. They were taking 25% of the load. So the load across a single transistor in this case is 12.5 microamps. Similarly, the inrush current was also differing for individual transistor in case of 5 stage as well as a circuit with 1 faulty transistor, and leakage current was also varying. So that's how we can claim our system is fault tolerant. Even if a fault occurs in 1 transistor, the remaining 4 transistors will be taken care and the expected output will not be disturbed. Module 3 is pre-startup circuit using fault tolerant network. So the pre-startup circuit is just going to boost up the input voltage to an intermediate level. So this is the existing pre-startup circuit, and it is using Dixon charge pump with MOSFETs. So you'll be having number of stages of capacitors to boost up the input voltage. So it's just going to double or triple. The major disadvantage of this is you'll be having n number of stages, and since we are using capacitor to improve the voltage, it will be occupying a large area. So we decided to apply the same fault tolerant concept and design a pre-startup circuit. And this is the proposed pre-startup circuit using fault tolerant network. See, the input is from 40 to 50 millivolts. So we have the inductor, the charges will be stored in the inductor. So we are using the low leakage FinFET oscillator as the switching frequency for fault tolerant network. So here we are employing only the fault tolerant network. We are not providing with any control circuit. And the output is given to the diode. Diode is used here in order to take care that the signal flows in only one direction. And the design procedure is same as that of the previous fault tolerant, but here the required output voltage is 90 millivolt and the load current is 1.8 microamperes, and number of stages again we maintain here at 5, and each stage will be getting a load of 0.36 microamperes. So based on that, we designed the W by L ratio for the transistor, and for the value of 0.36 microamperes of current in one branch, this is the W value, and design was carried out with 30% excess tolerance. This is the schematic of proposed pre-startup circuit using fault tolerant network. So we employed 5 stages of transistor. Each and every stage was given a delay of 50 nanoseconds, and we obtained the output. And in this case, our system was exactly acting as a voltage doubler. So whatever input we provide for this, the output was just the double of it. And this is the output for pre-startup circuit. Since we are not using any control network here, the output is linearly varying with that of the input. We are just applying only the fault tolerant circuit. So the output is just double. So in case of 40, the output will be 80. And once we give the input to 70, the output what we obtained was 140 millivolts. And we also varied the input from 40 millivolts to 65 millivolts and observed the inrush current. So the inrush current was greatly reduced compared to that of the Dixon charge pump. And here we can observe that as we increase the input voltage, the inrush current also increased. Similarly, the power consumption of the proposed system also increased with the increase in the input voltage. And now we applied all, that is the first module, second module and the third module, and proposed the thermal energy harvesting system. See, from the existing system, we have made the modification here. So here we have replaced low leakage FinFET ring oscillator, and the pre-startup DC to DC converter is utilizing the fault tolerant network, and the steady state boost converter is using the fault tolerant DC to DC boost converter in the existing. So we have replaced these three in the existing thermal energy harvesting system. And this is the schematic of proposed energy harvesting system. And we were able to achieve a greater reduction in the inrush current. So the inrush current is 165.25, but in the existing it is 0.5 microamperes. The power consumption is also greatly reduced in the proposed system, and the existing it is 8.962 microwatts, whereas in the proposed it is 5.17 microwatts. The leakage current, we had a very great reduction, that is 90.79 picoampere from 387.8 picoampere. And in our proposed system, we have the fault tolerant network. In the existing system, we do not have any fault tolerant network. And we varied the input voltage from 40 millivolts. See, now for this system, the input is directly from TG. See, here we are utilizing the entire thermal energy harvesting system. So we are going to give the input from directly the TG. So it will be ranging from 40 to 50 millivolts, but we experimented from 40 to 90 millivolts and 40 to 70 millivolts. And the output of this pre-startup circuit will be from 80 to 140, and that is what is applied to the fault tolerant DC to DC converter. So simulation results, we varied the input voltage from 40 millivolts to 60 millivolts and observed the impact on inrush current. So the inrush current also increased, and it was maximum when the input voltage is maximum 165.25. Similarly, we observed the power consumption by varying the input voltage from 40 to 65. And also the leakage current. So leakage current also increased with respect to the temperature. See, we varied the temperature from minus 25 degrees C to 125 degrees C, and we noted down the leakage current, and the leakage current varied linearly with the increase in the temperature. And at room temperature, the leakage current was 90.79. This is the performance comparison. See, we have various thermal energy harvesting system, and all the thermal energy harvesting system research work is being carried out using CMOS technology. So we proposed the technology in FinFET 20nm, and the input voltage is 40 millivolts. The output what we have designed is for 2.5 volts. And compared to all the remaining work, we were able to achieve a greater reduction in inrush current, power consumption, and leakage current. And till now, the other energy harvesting system are not having fault tolerant system. So we have introduced the fault tolerant system also. In conclusion, so the proposed thermal energy harvesting system consists of fault-tolerant transistor network instead of a single power transistor-based existing system. And even the pre-startup circuit is multi-partitioned based, and the proposed thermal energy harvesting system has been implemented in 20 nm FinFET technology, and the input voltage from TEG is from 40 millivolts to 65 millivolts, and the output of the thermal energy harvesting system, what we obtained is 2.5 volts. So in our system, we had a greater reduction in the power consumption, the leakage power, as well as the inrush current. Hence, we can claim that the proposed low leakage energy efficient and fault tolerant thermal energy harvesting system outperforms well, and it is more suitable for low power implantable biomedical devices. And future scope, the proposed system can also be implemented for IoT devices as well as the wearable devices. It can also be integrated with BSN technologies, and the thermoelectric powered wireless cardiac pacemaker will be a challenging area in the next decade. And these are some of the references what we referred for our work. And these are our publications. So initially we published a literature review in International Journal of VLSI Design and Communication System. Then the remaining 3 modules, that is module 1, module 2 and module 3, we published in Scopus indexed paper. Thank you. And any queries?
Thank you, Janita. Thank you for the presentation. Dean sir, welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dean sir, good morning, sir. Welcome you, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, now we will proceed with the... Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Now we will proceed with the question section. Yes. The audience can now ask your questions to Janita Devane, sir. Audience, please. One by one, you can unmute and you can ask your question.
Questions posted in the chat box.
Okay, ma'am. I'll just refer, ma'am.
Hello. Janita, you have a question in the chat box. I will read out the question and you can answer that. The question is when harmonic oscillators give stable oscillation, why did you go for ring oscillator? That is a question asked by Suguna.
Yes, ma'am. Harmonic oscillators do give stable oscillations, but the main problem is harmonic oscillator consumes more power. Since we are concentrating for implantable biomedical devices, power consumption is not a desired factor, and ring oscillator power consumption was less compared to the harmonic oscillator. So for that, we decided to go for ring oscillator.
Audience, any more questions? You can unmute your mic and you can ask a question.
Janita ma'am, what is the advantage of reducing that WL ratio?
Yes, ma'am. WL ratio will be reduced, and we know area will be equal to W into L. Okay, ma'am. And we also know that capacitance, that is the power consumption, is directly proportional to the area. See, once we reduce the area, the power consumption also reduces. So it is a greater advantage for implantable biomedical devices. So directly, that is indirectly, we are reducing the power consumption, ma'am. So as WL ratio decreases, area decreases. So since area decreases, the capacitance will be decreasing and the power consumption will also decrease.
Okay. Questions from the audience?
Janita ma'am, one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the duty cycle of that clock pulse given to the fault tolerant network?
Fault tolerant network.
Fault tolerant network.
Yes,
Cloud
ma'am.
pulse. What is it?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Duty cycle. Okay, fine. Ma'am, for the fault tolerant network, we are giving the input from PWM. So the duty cycle, what we have fixed is 96%, because the output what we need is 2.5 volts. So for any input with the duty cycle of 0.96, we were able to achieve 2.5 volts at the output, ma'am. And whenever there is a change in the output, only the duty cycle was getting adjusted to get back the changes in the output to the original value.
Okay, ma'am.
Janita ma'am, with the link of that question, I want to ask one more question, ma'am.
Yes,
You have mentioned W/L ratio for fault tolerant system, no? For your proposed system, you have mentioned one W/L ratio. Is that will be same for the existing, or it will be changing?
No, ma'am. For the existing, we are using a single transistor, and in the proposed, we are replacing the single transistor with 5 parallel transistor. Obviously, the W/L ratio was very much reduced from that of the single transistor, which was used in existing system. And we also found that the combined value of all the 5 transistor was less than that of the single transistor, which was used in the existing system.
Any more question from the audience or? Okay. Then now I request our external examiner, Dr. J.P. Anand sir, to ask his question. Sir, please, sir, you can ask your questions to them.
A very good presentation, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
So in the slide number 33 of your presentation, the proposed model, so I have used 5 power transistors in our fault tolerant network. What will be the impact if more number of power transistors are used, or why you have used 5? Any specific reasons?
Okay. Can I go to that slide, sir?
No, not required. You can just say, ma'am. No
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sir, actually, like what we have decided is the total load we decided to share between 5 transistors. So we had a total load of 50 microamperes. So we decided like each and every transistor will be given 10 microamperes. And there is no rule that like you're supposed to go only for 5 transistors. We can also go for 10 transistors. So unless until it supports minimum W/L ratio. So here we have implemented 5. If we go for 10 transistors, the load will be equally shared between all the 10 transistors. And the W/L value will be varied according to that. So we cannot go for very minimum W value unless until the system supports this. We can choose the values of transistor, number of transistors. And this depends on mainly the switching frequency, sir. It should be less than T/2, where T is the 1/f, that is the switching frequency. The delay should be within that.
Okay, ma'am. And in your comparison,
Yes, sir.
I can see the FinFET with 20 nm.
Yes, sir.
With the different CMOS.
Exactly.
So it will be better if the comparison is made between FinFET with different sizes.
Okay, exactly, sir. Sir, actually, our area was thermal energy harvesting system. And when we referred for thermal energy harvesting system, all were based on CMOS technology. And using FinFET, we have only RF energy harvesting technique, and that was also 65 nm nanotechnology. And whatever parameters we have considered, that was not mentioned. So I've just included that also, sir. And using FinFET, there is no thermal energy harvesting technique found. And we have ring oscillators and other things. I've included those after your questions, sir. Like.
Okay, and one more. And it's not a query, it's an observation from my side as well as the foreign examiner. He has also reported that.
Okay.
You have a good potential for research work in publishing in a good CI or a Scopus, and why you haven't tried that?
So actually, because of the quarantine and time constraint, we just published our papers, and now we are working on it. And really, it is a motivational comment, sir. We'll just work on it, and we'll try to publish the paper in higher index journals, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this motivational comment, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our university faculty, Dr. M. Anand sir, to ask his questions. Anand sir, you can put your questions.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Janita, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, go to slide number 36, ma'am. I have one query actually.
1 second, sir. Slide number 36, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
And the slide, just to see, my design is carried out without 30% of excess tolerance you are given. No, ma'am. Actually,
Yes,
is
sir.
there any specific reason, ma'am, for that one?
Yes, sir. So actually the design procedure what we are carrying out is for 10 microamperes of current. So we are telling that if one transistor fails, the remaining 4 transistor has to take care of this. So in order to maintain that, we are just introducing 30% excess tolerance. See, this W value is for taking up current, that is load of 10 microamperes. So if one transistor fails, each and every transistor should take up a load of 12.5 microamperes. So only in order to achieve this, we have increased the design and we have carried out with 30% excess tolerance, sir.
Yeah, welcome, ma'am. And one more query. Just
Yes,
go
ma'am.
to slide number 58, ma'am.
58. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, actually, from where did you get the existing value for the impact of the input voltage on the inrush current, ma'am, here in this case?
Yes, sir. Exactly like in the existing paper, he had not mentioned these things. We just implemented the existing system also in Cadence and we just obtained the output. Then we compared both, sir. Yeah. We have carried out in our Cadence circuit the same, like he had given all the design parameters and all the values of the components, whatever he had used in the circuit. So we just implemented that also and we obtained all the values, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's all, sir. Anand sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, since the question session was over, I now call upon our examiner, Dr. J.P. Anand sir, to give his conclusion based on Janita's presentation. Sir, please, sir.
Candidate Ms. Janita Jabanesar J has done a good work on energy efficient, fault tolerant thermal energy harvesting system with minimal leakage power for implantable biomedical devices. The thesis covered extensive results and discussions, and the candidate has defended the thesis well, and she answered all the queries raised by the examiners as well as the participants in this Vivavos. So with respect to this, as an Indian examiner, I take the privilege of recommending the university for the award of PhD degree to Ms. Janita Jabanesar, and congratulations to Dr. Janita ma'am. And special
Thank you,
appreciations
sir.
and congratulations to the supervisor Janagirani ma'am for the guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So now we have come to the conclusion of this Vivavo session. Janita, would you want to share something? If you feel something,
Yes,
you can
ma'am.
share.
I would like to. Thank you everyone for attending this Vivavos and listening to me patiently. And Indian examiner sir, thank you so much for your valuable comments. And first and foremost, I would like to thank the Almighty for showering His blessings on my work during the entire period. And I would like to thank Dr. A.C. Shanmugam sir, Chancellor, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar sir, President, Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi ma'am, Vice Chancellor, for giving me an opportunity to carry out my research work in their organization. I extend my thanks to Dr. A. Tirunavukarasu sir, Director Research, and Dr. S. Ramurthy sir, Dean Research, for the cooperation extended to me throughout my work. Thank you, sir. I also extend my thanks to Saudambika ma'am and Nalaini ma'am in Dean office for their support throughout my work. And I extend my sincere thanks to my guide Janagirani ma'am. Without her, the work will not be wouldn't have been completed. And she gave me good motivation and she gave me the good encouragement, support and guidance. And thank you so much, ma'am. And I thank the co-guide, Mr. Anand, for his support, HOD ma'am, Jayalakshmi ma'am, and all the department faculties in MGR for their support. And a special thanks to Dr. Godavari ma'am for all your encouragement, ma'am. And at this point, I would like to thank Dr. P. Chinnadurai sir, Secretary and Correspondent of Panimala Engineering College, for giving me an opportunity to complete my year. And he was constantly encouraging us to complete the work. And a special thanks to Dr. P. Kannan sir, HOD, EC Department, Panimala Engineering College. And more than an HOD, he was just concentrating on my well-being, and like he was just motivating me throughout my work, encouraged me. He supported me to complete my work, and all my faculty, department members and colleagues for their support for carrying out my work. And at this point, I would like to mention a special thanks to my friend Dr. S. Deepa, and she supported me greatly during my work and gave good comfort. And mainly, I want to thank my husband, and he was behind my success in each and every step. And physically, he was one who was moving around for my work, and he was very patient and tolerated me for all these during these works. And I also extend my thanks to my son Rion and Venezuela for cooperating with me, and my in-laws especially for their prayers and blessings. And at this point, I just want to mention that my mother was the one who gave me the stepping stone to reach this height. And thank you, Amma. And I miss my dad greatly at this point. He would have been greatly happy. And I also thank my family members, brothers, sisters, family for cooperating with me. And very great thanks for all who supported me in this work. Even if I could have left out someone, extremely sorry. Thank you all. Thank you all for your support. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Majanita. Finally, as a convener, I wish to thank one and all for spending your valuable time and showing your support in making this Vivavos a great success. Thank you all, ma. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dean, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.